Hey guys, welcome back to the garden. So spring is officially here and everything is like coming to life. I originally wasn't going to do like a garden tour video today. I was gonna film a totally different video, but I'm out here and I'm getting like the beginning of all my harvests and I'm like, oh my gosh, there is so much life emerging from the garden. I'm like, I gotta make it like a garden tour video. I gotta show you guys spring emerging. So there's wind and there's birds and there is produce growing and it's a beautiful day. So I thought I would share it with you guys. So what I was doing was I was out here picking my green beans. So this is the first of my green bean harvest. I've actually been harvesting them for a couple weeks, like maybe like a handful every other day, but now I've gone a couple days without doing it and there is lots that need to be picked. So I'm gonna pick that and I think we'll just kind of mosey through the garden and see what's ready to be picked and we'll harvest it together. And yeah, so this is like a little glimpse at my spring garden. Okay, so first of all, we're over here with our green bean wall. And it's starting to fill out. I'm not sure how much longer, like into the season, it'll produce green beans. It may keep going for a while. That's one of the things I always question, whether the heat gets it or not enough water, or it just decides that it's done producing because I left the beans on there too long. So, but we're just going to pick all of these beautiful green beans. Some of them I probably let go a little long because they're kind of lumpy, so these usually get like a little tougher once they get their little pods start forming. But actually green beans can be used in multiple ways. So you could eat it like this, right? You could cook it up just like this, or the beans inside of here actually make like a nice like bean. Like if you were to smash it down like to a bean dip or throw it in a soup, they make nice little beans inside of here. And then ideally though, if you're gonna eat it as a green bean, let me see if I can find a young one here. You want one, there we go. Okay, and this one might be a little too young, but you want it to be on the smoother, thinner side, not so lumpy, because the lumpier it gets, it's gonna get a little, like, the shell's gonna be a little harder, a little denser, a little chewier. So, but this was ideal if you're gonna eat it like fresh green bean. But these make excellent if you're doing deep fried green beans, like with coating and everything. These guys, that's a great way to use your overdeveloped green beans, or you can let them go to seed and then just use them for the next year for your next harvest. So let's go ahead and just pick all of these green beans and I'll show you my other little green bean wall and we'll pick those and then we'll continue on into the garden and see what else we have to harvest. Okay, so this was the first green bean wall that I just picked all those green beans from. And this is kind of like what I eventually want to grow into like my secret garden area. So I have it trellis on both sides, although the trellis isn't finished in that corner, but it's going to eventually have something growing on it that's going to be like a solid wall of green. So this area is going to be kind of enclosed. And then this is the other side of my green beans, and as you can see, we have lots and lots of green beans ready to be picked. And down here, this is usually where I put my flowers, but these have just started, so I just put in my nasturtiums here. I've got bachelor buttons there, and down over here, I'm not entirely sure which one this is. I kind of forgot. I'm sure it'll come back to me because I plant these blanket flower. That's what it is. It's a blanket flower. I plant these in this location. I did it 2 times before and I just really love how they fill out this area. So those will be blooming and beautiful in just a month or 2. But let's go ahead and harvest the rest of these green beans and then I will show you guys what the rest of the garden is looking like. And I also should mention this is kind of the area of forgotten crops because they've been in the ground so long, I've kind of forgotten to acknowledge them. But these are all this area, it's not weeds, it's potatoes. So they are actually coming near the end of their life, so they're starting to yellow. And once they die off, then in probably another week or two, I will go ahead and dig up the potatoes underneath. So, and then over along the fence we have carrots mixed in. So yeah, this is kind of, I put this in the ground here and forget about it. After the potatoes come out, I'm probably gonna do a lot of beans in this area just to put some nutrients back in the soil because potatoes are heavy feeders. And then who knows what I'll plant next. I guess I'll decide that after the round of beans comes up. So anyway, on to picking the green beans. So these are all the green beans that we picked today. Yeah, that's like so satisfying. Oh, it's so nice to finally pick the things that you've taken care of for so long and to finally see them come to fruition. So I have unintentionally let a lot of my broccoli plants go to seed, but that's okay. I mean, they're still, the flowers are edible and they're beautiful and they taste just like broccoli. But what I heard was that broccoli flowers are actually excellent bee pollinators and that bees love them and it'll draw bees to your garden. And I was actually just commenting to my partner the other day that, you know, I heard that broccoli flowers attract bees and I haven't seen any bees on mine. Well, there's a ton of bees. I don't know if you guys can see them, I'll give you a close-up, but they are attracting the pollinators. So I'm not even going to cut those flowers and use them. I'm going to leave them for the bees because I don't have a lot of flowers established yet this year. A lot of my annuals are still growing, so I'm just gonna leave those and let the bees have them. But I do have some broccoli, so we're gonna go ahead and just snap this guy off. So I have a couple of these I'm gonna pick, and then I will let the rest go to the bees. These broccoli greens are also edible, so what I'll probably do when I'm ready to clean this area out, I'll show you how many plants I do have back here. I have a lot going all the way back. But I'll cut all these and turn it into some kind of dish or freeze it to use it as like a green. It tastes like broccoli, just like this, just a little different form, kind of like spinach. But these plants will actually get little broccoli shoots off of this. So this is not done producing broccoli yet. They just won't be quite as big as this head. If you guys want to see like a full tutorial on how I grew broccoli, I'll go ahead and link it down below. It's how to grow broccoli from start to finish, from seed until you can get seeds again from your flowers. So let's look at the rest of the broccoli. And this broccoli plant is the one that actually all went to seed. So these are all little seed plants, seed pods full of broccoli seeds. Now I actually read online, don't quote me on this because I've never done it before, but look it up yourself, that I heard that these seed pods, as long as they aren't dried and turned into seeds, are actually edible. So I don't know what they taste like or what texture they would be, but you know, they're very delicate at this stage, so I feel like if you pickled them, they might be like a really good delicate kind of topping for something. I don't know, but it just gives me another idea of something extra to do with the broccoli. And broccoli flowers are so beautiful, like just look at that. That's gorgeous. So pretty. So this is our broccoli bed, the rest of it. And we actually have beans all through here too. So I actually intercropped those two things, which I'll link the video down below where I did that. And I go into more depth about why I did that, but it's just to kind of prepare the soil for next season. But you can see I have all my broccoli plants in different stages. Some have already been harvested, some are going to seed, and then in between here are all these bean plants. So pretty, and they have such pretty flowers. Like those are the black bean flowers. Aren't they beautiful? So pretty. So I have tons of these, which I know most people consider a weed, but apparently it's not a weed, it's a native flower. So I learned that from the Wild Floridian channel. She gives such great information about native flowers. And normally I would pull all of these, but again, since I don't have a lot of flowers growing in my garden just yet, I'm gonna leave them because the bees absolutely love them, and so it's drawing bees. And this is right under my lemon trees. So I already got my flowers for the year, and now I'm starting to get lemons. Little baby lemons. Now lemons take a long time to grow. So although you see them now and it's spring, I won't be harvesting these probably until January. So yeah, this tree has gotten so full and so many little lemons. And then I need to acknowledge my olive trees, which I love my olive trees for many reasons. I got them, my mom actually gave them to me, and it's more of a sentimental gift. You know, like from the Bible, there are a lot of references to olive trees, and Jesus prayed under an olive tree. So I wanted them for sentimental purposes, but I also love olives. But they are 6 years old, and I have never gotten olives, but they are huge. Like, they're huge. That is all the olive tree. They are hardy. They are really hardy, but have never produced olives. I have fertilized them, and still nothing. So I don't know if it's just that. Oh, it's a dragonfly. So I don't know if it's just that they're not old enough just yet. I read anywhere from 5 to 7 years. They're 6 years. So maybe it's just not time yet, or maybe, I don't know, I'm doing something wrong. I don't know. So I'm actually thinking of going to an education nursery the next few weeks where they grow olive trees, and maybe asking some questions and some suggestions as to why they haven't produced olives yet. Maybe something I could do to help them along. But also, if you guys have grown olive trees, like somewhere where it's warm, like down here in Florida, please let me know if you got olives, how long it took, and what you did to help your olive trees, because this is one thing that I have been patiently waiting for, but haven't yet seen come to fruition yet. So still waiting on those guys. And this is like one of my favorite things to walk through. It's like my little side yard, and I just feel like it's so magical walking through. It has all this canopy of trees. That tree, which is beautiful and unidentified, I'm not quite sure what it is, has this beautiful trunk that winds up and comes up like a spiral. And the coolest part is a squirrel planted that. Like, a squirrel planted some kind of seed there, and it grew, and it grew fast over the last couple years. So now it's this beautiful canopy, and I trim it back to kind of let it be shade for my plants down here. And I try not to let it get too out of control, but I just feel like it's kind of magical. And directly behind this canopy area, I have my trellis for my grapes. I thought these things had died the first year that I planted them, and they went to sticks. I did not understand that they like hibernate kind of in the winter, lose all their leaves, and then they come back. So it is starting to come back, and it is growing up this thing and looking beautiful. So I don't know if we'll get grapes this year, because it's still kind of young. This is only year 2, but it is looking pretty, and I am excited for this to be completely covered like an archway with the grapevines eventually. So this is my king trellis. It's like a teepee style trellis. And this is my first year like successfully growing peas. I always started them, I think, too late in the year. Like, I waited until it warmed up, like spring, but here it is way too hot for that. So I started these back in January when it was so cold. There is just so many on here, and they are plump and delicious. Like, let me break one open and show you guys. Look at those beautiful peas inside. Isn't that beautiful? So good. Okay, so now that we're on the subject of these peas, they've been juicing so good. But in the beginning, I was kind of worried, because if you look down near the bottom, they are very spindly and thin and yellowing. And I've noticed as they've grown, the leaves at the bottom, and the branches have they have stayed spindly, thin, and yellow. But if you look up the trellis, the greens near the top are so thick and so healthy. Like, it's weird. It's almost like a gradient of color and thickness as it goes up. And like I said, this is my first year successfully growing peas. So I don't know, is this normal? Have you guys experienced this? Is this the way that peas grow? Like, they're kind of like weak down below, but they get thicker and healthier as they go up? Is that a thing? I don't know, but it's producing really good. So I'm not worried about it anymore. You know, as long as the plant is still going strong, even though it's warm out, I'm going to just mark this as a victory and maybe look into the yellowing at a future date. Okay, so here is an area that I am so proud of because these are my beautiful cabbages. Like, they're doing so good. I have had, I would say kind of like a harder time growing cabbages in the past. I could never get them quite bigger than like this little one down here. Like, this was it. And you know, you can still eat it at this stage. That's fine. This is a machili cabbage, like an Asian style cabbage that you would put like in a kimchi or something. You can eat it small, you can eat it at any stage, but ideally you want it to, like, you know, be a full-size cabbage. So this year I have done so much better, and what I figured out is I was planting it too late. I was planting it like as spring was approaching, because we think that spring is when you plant everything, but actually, especially if you live in a warm climate like Florida, you want to start your spring plants like in winter. So I started all of these in December, and they line like this whole area. They go all the way down, and some are like, they're massive and they're just like growing up so good. So this is actually the Nozaki kind of machili cabbage, so it's a heat tolerant cabbage, which again is the same as I planted last year, but last year I did not have as much success as I did this year. So this is like really exciting to be able to have cabbage. I'm gonna turn this all into kimchi. I love kimchi. So yeah, and I'll probably make a video on how I make my kimchi. I like it simple. You know, I don't like too many extra things in there. Just a nice simple kimchi. So yeah, super excited about this. And then in here I just have a few random plants. So we've got some broccoli, some cauliflower, just randomly, some broccoli back here, randomly placed in here. And that's just kind of, I had some extra ones and I stuck them in the ground. So they're not too happy over here. I planted them kind of late. They were the things that I kind of left in pots for too long, forgot about. And I'm like, I'll stick them in the ground somewhere, see how they do. So, I mean, they're still growing, and these leaves are edible, like I talked about before, so they'll do something, but yeah, may not get full broccoli heads from these. That's okay. This bed is kind of, it's been kind of barren for a while, like that area, because I actually use this for like lettuces and winter things like kohlrabi, rutabagas, my spinaches, kale, but I had something kind of tragic happen, sort of, in the garden. A very large possum actually crawled into the garden back in January, laid down on my lettuce, and he died. I don't know what he died from. I don't know if it was old age. I mean, it was a large possum. I don't know if he like got into like poison, like rat poison from a neighbor or something. I don't know. So I didn't feel comfortable eating the food that he ended his life upon. I mean, in a lot of ways, I feel kind of honored that he wasn't feeling well and he thought my vegetable garden was a comforting place to lay down. So there's that. But Yeah, so I ripped out everything that was here and just left it barren for a while because I didn't want to mess with that. So, but now it's been a few months, so I'm got some things back there. Yeah, so we're starting again here. I feel like maybe I should put up like a little plaque in memoriam of Possum. So yeah, there's always interesting things that happen in a garden when you have one, because sometimes, yeah, nature is unpredictable. You just don't know. So I will take you down the row of cabbages and show you some of the larger ones as we go down the row, and also just a few of the random plants that I have planted in between here. So here we have our huge line of cabbages that are lining this entire bed. Like, look at this. This is such a healthy cabbage. And it's huge, like you can see it. In comparison to like my feet, it's a huge cabbage. And this is my sister spinach. This is a bush, and it is a perennial spinach. Like, it never dies. I never have to replant it. It's just fluffy and lovely. And the leaves are a little thicker than like a traditional spinach. Almost like in between a succulent and a spinach, but it's just great because it's so prolific and so good. This one cabbage just like died, so that was a missing one in my little row here, but look how amazing they are, and they're starting to all head. They look so good. Back here we just have a random rutabaga. There's a few kohlrabi in there. I've got some dragon beans growing up this trellis here, which I'm not going to show you guys because I actually have a video coming out of how I built this, so I'm going to wait until it is fully done before I show you guys that. But I have dragon beans along the base of that. And then my sweet potatoes coming back. So the freeze got a lot of my stuff, but I was so happy that the sweet potatoes are starting to come back and fill in here. So, and they have beautiful leaves in different colors, and actually sweet potato leaves are edible. And I was so surprised when I tasted one of these. They taste almost like a cucumber without moisture. So it's very interesting, almost like a sweet cucumber kind of taste. This is the area that is to be continued. This is what we're going to be working on, but we have beautiful plumbagos that are blooming. Oh my gosh, I absolutely love these, and they are prolific. They're actually probably too prolific because they're taking up this whole area under our tree. So what I want to do, yeah, they're probably too prolific. Like, they're taking up this whole area, and I kind of want to keep them contained to kind of over there. So I actually have a plan for this area. I want to build like a stick, kind of a magical stick arch, and then have lots of plants going around it, some Jamaican cherries. So that's the future plan for this area. But the soil in this area is so good. Let me show you guys. So because this is under the big tree there, and it just mulches the ground itself, like, the dirt is so good. Like, it is, like, look at that. That is really good soil. So I actually started by experimenting, and I planted a few zucchini and squash over here because I wanted to see how it went, because I haven't actually planted like an annual type vegetable over here before. I have my blueberries, which look like sticks because those plumbagos overran and completely choked them out. Like, this whole area that's now bare, that has like that carpet and stuff there, this was all plumbagos. So I have started clearing it out, but yeah, that's what I mean when I said too many plumbagos. But love them, but they just need to be a little more contained. So yeah, so I think that's all I'm going to show you guys for today. there are other parts of the garden, but not much is happening in them yet. Everything's still kind of small, so it's not really being like too much. So I will save that for a video maybe later on in April. We'll update you guys, and then maybe by then we'll have this new area done. So yeah, that's it for today's video, you guys. Actually, before we go, I want to show you one of these dragon beans. Some people call them dragon beans, some people call them long beans, but these things are long. Like, they get that name for a reason. Like, that's a long bean. That's a long bean. And they'll get longer than this. Like, look, long beans. Now, these are not quite like a traditional green bean. They're a little tougher. So they're not ideal in all situations, but they make excellent fried green beans. Like, it's really cool to have like a super long like fried green bean. So yeah, that's great for that. And I'll show you guys some recipes that I use them for once they get going, but they're just starting for the season, so I don't have too many on there just yet. I was also a little late to the party this year, the spring planting party, where you're supposed to plant your seeds and get them ready. So I just started them this last weekend, which is a little late, you know. The heat's gonna come and make it challenging for these things, but I mean, we'll see how they do. You know, I'll plant them in some shadier spots, water them a little extra. You know, maybe it won't be as good as if I had started them earlier, but it will still be okay. Like, it'll be fine. So yeah, I have lots of seedlings, lots of flowers, peppers, tomatoes. I already have some tomatoes started, but I wanted to start more. So yeah, these are all our BBs that are just starting to emerge. So yeah, this is the future of the garden. Alrighty guys, that's it for today's video. Thank you for coming along with me for this little mini garden tour. It's not the full garden, but it's kind of what's starting to come up in spring and the life that's starting to emerge. So thanks guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Have a great week. Bye guys.
Looking for a reason